Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining the Quality of Life Innovations Generating an Idea webinar. My name's Juliet Tarantino, and I am the Senior Manager of Quality of Life Innovations. We are very excited to spend some time with you this afternoon thinking about the first step of your QLI project, and that is choosing your issue. We will walk through various potential ideas with you and sources of inspiration for choosing your issue, and we will be joined by Phyllis Art-Perillo, the founder, president, and CEO of WISE this afternoon. Before we move further, I want to point out to you on your GoToWebinar screen, on the right-hand side, you will see a question box. If you have a question at any time, please type your question in here and we'll do our best to answer your question as we move through the webinar, but be assured there is time set aside for Q&A at the end. So again, we will do our best to address your questions as you think of them. Type them at any time during the webinar, and again, we'll invite you to ask questions at the end. We'll begin with an overview of some of the materials that WISE, Working in Support of Education, which organizes the Quality of Life Innovations competition and program, offers for your help. We have a student manual. You'll soon be receiving this. It is a very detailed roadmap that helps you to understand each and every step of writing a QLI project, additional samples of past QLI projects, and resources to access outside of this manual. You'll also soon receive a guide to conducting primary research. This is your introduction to the second sections of your paper, to how you research your QLI issue through talking directly to people who know about these issues or have experienced them. And it's an exciting foray into primary research. We also will share with you an online resources directory, so you're able to access a myriad of free resources, all available electronically and geared toward high school students who are conducting research, maybe for the first time, and can also benefit from a little extra guidance on how to choose a QLI issue, how to conduct research, how to analyze research, and again, every single step of the process. There are extra resources for you online. We will be distributing these materials to your teachers soon, and then you'll be able to access them from your teacher, or if you need a second copy or anything happens, you may also reach out to me directly and we'll get these materials to you. We spent the summer updating them for you and we're excited for you to be able to use them. WISE also provides another suite of support to you throughout the year. We're starting off with a webinar today, our Generating an Idea webinar, and we offer webinars throughout the full year in order to help you with each step of the process. The next webinar will be on background research, and then we'll have webinars in the winter and in the spring, again, helping you to prepare each section that's required for this project. We'll also have back for the first time in many years an in-person resources fair. And this will be on December 6th. It will be in Manhattan, and it will be at the United Federation of Teachers and on Broadway. So it's a wonderful building. We will be really happy to return there. And what you will learn, who you'll meet at the Resources Fair, are representatives from a variety of local government agencies or nonprofits, people in New York City working on real-world issues that might be your issue. So you'll have access to an expert to ask them questions about your QLI issue, gather background information, maybe even get inspiration for the next steps of your project at the Resources Fair. In addition to that one day only event, the Resources Fair, we have mentors who will meet with you either in your school in person or over Zoom to help you with your individual projects. They can give you guidance and inspiration if you feel stuck while you're researching, or if you just need more specific information about a topic from someone who might do this kind of work professionally, day in, day out. Later in the year, once you've started researching your issue and are going to conduct field research after you did background, when you really want to learn more about your issue at a very detailed level, we have a workshop to help you with the process of conducting this research. Experts will be available on Zoom to talk to you. They work as researchers themselves within New York City, and they will give you some great ideas on how to learn more about your issue. Maybe something out of the box, less conventional than you've already considered, or you might have a group or an issue that's hard to learn about. They could help give you some alternate ideas and help you, again, keep moving your project forward. In the spring, once you have a lot of your project written, we will host a proposal clinic. Another set of fantastic volunteers, they come and do this every year. They'll read your project, your proposal, and then offer you feedback on the grammar, on the syntax, on all of your writing, and also give you some more ideas that maybe you hadn't yet considered about what you can do within your project. In the spring, finalists who advance to that last round of the QLI competition are also supported with practice sessions during the Saturday Institutes. We have mentors read the full proposal and then hear you talk about your project, watch your practice presentation, and give you advice, help you really develop your expertise and your confidence, because you are the authorities, you're the experts on your issue by the time these institutes come up in May. In addition to the guides, the printed materials that we'll distribute to you digitally, to all the other forms of support that WISE provides, there are other ways to get help on your QLI project. You can search out experts on your own by using the internet, looking at the authors of the research that you've uncovered on your issue, and you will also be required to talk to at least one expert. So experts are a great way to get more info on your issue. Additionally, you can talk to your parents, you can talk to your neighbors, you can talk to your parents' friends, your neighbors' friends. Speak to some adults in the community, either about your project once you get going, or we'll also recommend that you talk to parents, neighbors, community members to help determine what your QLI issue is, what you want to research, what's really important and needs some improving in your neighborhood. Additionally, you'll have your QLI teacher, but you also have teachers for all the other subjects, other classes that you're in. Maybe you'll be speaking to your gym teacher or an art teacher or a teacher that you're not even in the class of. Definitely talk to your teachers as you work on your projects. Asking for help is a good tool when you want to begin a new endeavor. This QLI research project is something that will be a new experience for many of you, but the more help, the easier and more exciting it will be. Okay, now we're really diving in to how to choose your QLI issue. So you start with yourself. Is there anything in your neighborhood or around your high school or on your commute to high school that you have noticed it seems like it's a problem? Is there anything that makes you angry? Do you ever get upset about situations or conditions of life around New York City? For example, just recently in my neighborhood, a cyclist was hit by a truck. And this truck wasn't even supposed to be driving on the road. It was a non-truck route, and they didn't even get a ticket. So that really did upset me. I walk down by the street all the time, and I also ride a bicycle to commute within Brooklyn. So this issue is something that I care about. It's also personal, as I sometimes ride a bike, and it angers me because it was avoidable. A truck shouldn't have been on that route, and there was no repercussion. So it was a very sad event, and it's one that happens, unfortunately, throughout New York City. I wish someone would do something about it. So reflect after the webinar, during the webinar, on your way to school tomorrow. Are there any issues that make you a little bit angry, that ruffle your feathers, or are there experiences, difficult experiences you have had, or you've heard family and friends go through that you think, we should make this better for them? What am I passionate about? Having a personal connection does help. If you are really connected to this issue, if it resonates with you, you're excited or enraged about it, it will help you to keep up your interest throughout the project and help you to know who to speak with if this is an issue within your community. Well, what if nothing actually makes you angry though? If you have complete bliss, everything in New York City seems utterly perfect, how do you choose a QLI issue? You'll have to do some brainstorming. Good sources of brainstorming people to begin talking with would again be your friends, your classmates. Maybe you play a sport, you can talk to your teammates. You can talk to students that you don't have any classes or sports with. You might simply see or be familiar with. Talk to your family, your siblings, your cousins. And as I mentioned, when looking for sources of help, it's always better to ask for help than to just feel stuck. Talk to those teachers, your neighbors, the crossing guard, the mail carrier, the local business owner. Speak to people about what they think bothers them in New York City. If they could magically fix an issue, they had a magic wand, they had $10 billion, what would they address in New York City? What's important to them? What would make life better for them, for other New Yorkers? So you can really survey a great number of people, talk to them and tell them that you are working on a project for school and see what they care about. You know, this is you might choose an issue they've recommended to you. It could be your QLI project. And if you are successful, you'll have a wonderful paper at the end and you can say thank you for that idea. Or maybe you win the competition and you'd receive a college scholarship. So you're doing something good for the community, and these ideas that others give you, you will share out to the world. Another source of inspiration for identifying your QLI idea is research. This project entails a lot of research. So beginning with just choosing your issue, you could go online to research. You can look on Google. Everyone's been on Google. You could look on Google, for example, with the search terms quality of life issues in New York City today, right? 2022. You would get a lot of results. You could also go to the Issue Lab. We'll dive deeper into Issue Lab and nyc.gov later in this presentation, but you could go to Issue Lab, and again, you'll have a keyword search availability. They cover topics on Issue Lab such as peace and conflict, substance abuse and recovery, LGBTQIA issues, and judicial reform. So these are all really important, big topics today, and they might be the umbrella of an issue that's near and dear to your heart, that you're really curious about, that you think should be addressed. NewYorkCity.gov will lead you to the city's 311 page. There on 311, you can look up service requests. That means you're browsing topics of concern to everyday New Yorkers in all 5 boroughs. These are topics such as cracked sidewalks or noise complaints related to helicopters, residences, or businesses. You can also try watching the TV news. Watch the local news. And maybe even listen to the news on the local radio. The radio station would be wnyc.org. You can tune in, see what local issues are popping up. As you survey the news and online resources, a hint is to pay attention as well to recent issues. What is new, right? What is something that not many people have paid attention to yet, and you could really bring it to the forefront? For example, last year, 2 years ago, it was a new issue to be at home attending school. So remote learning, the challenges related to Zoom classrooms, and the impact of having cameras on or off during virtual learning, that was a new topic. That was a new issue. So again, if you see something new, maybe that is the way to winnow down what you're interested in. It's important for you to pay attention to this QLI issue because not many people have yet. So there's space for you to make a difference. Again, when you're trying to determine your idea, which is very exciting, but maybe seems like a difficult process, check in with local organizations and government agencies. And you can also ask them about the problems that they see in the neighborhood, what they would like fixed. There was a student in the past who talked to her local fire department. She attended community board meetings, talked to a few different local agencies, and asked what was a big problem. What would they fix? And they all actually mentioned that the time it took for emergency services to reach a fire were too long because it was difficult to find addresses on the homes. So while the fire department's out to help fight fires, they're delayed because they cannot see the address on the home. So placing more visually prominent numbers, home addresses, was a solution. You might hear issues too, like litter, sidewalk status, cyberbullying, scams for the elderly, subway delays. These may be responses that you hear. We've also created a timeline for you to help work backwards from the important date of December 20th. That is when your entry form is due online. It's a Google form. We will look at it together in just a few moments, but working backwards from then, by November 15th, your mini goal 1 is to determine what your community needs. Talk to all those folks we mentioned, coaches, teachers, crossing guards, adults, peers. See what is important to other people around you. 2, mini goal tool. 2, choose which issue matters most to you. You will pick your QLI issue, ideally, by December 1st, so that when you come to the Student Resources Fair, you know which tables to spend time at. If you are going to work on an issue related to transportation. Okay, one moment. Okay, one moment. We will be right back with audio and slides. Okay. So your next mini goal 3, is finding resources about your issue. When you submit your entry form, you will need 3 resources that are about your issue. It could be a report published online. It can be a peer-reviewed article. It can't be a web page, but we'll look at that. Actually, we'll look at the entry form right now. Your teachers will be sharing this link with you to submit your QLI project again on December 20th. You'll have your school name, the address, your teacher, your topic, the issue, and we'll look at a list of topics and issue on our next slides, and your resources. You will have them cited MLA or APA style, and again, they could be something online, but it's not a web page. So, I turned it off. If you are working on your own, then you will be entering as an individual. If you're working with teammates, you can be on a team of up to 3, team entry, and you will enter your name, etc. Okay, so we saw the entry form. Again, you'll be receiving this link from your teacher. And now we'll look at topics and QLI issues. The student manual that you'll be receiving, and I'm going to move to the page with topics. The topics on the left: social justice, education, environment, health, disability, personal finance, neighborhoods. These are the broader topic. It's like an umbrella. If you had an upside down pyramid, it's the top wide section. And then you narrow for your quality of life issues. These are the options we have on the right-hand side. These are all real topics that students wrote about for quality of life innovations projects. And many of these stood out to us. We have within social justice, the lack of mental health resources for African Americans, for example, or that there isn't sufficient history education in US classrooms about Asian American history.
A little bit about the topic. What's really important for you is it's not so much topic issue, these are words. But when we refer to the topic, we're referring, as Juliet mentioned, the umbrella. So let's take an umbrella. Let's say, for example, education. So you're not doing a project on education, because education has so many issues, has so many concerns. It would be impossible for anyone to take on education, the whole topic. And so what you need to do is to really identify what is it about education that you're really concerned about. And it needs to be small enough for you to address. So one time we had a student who chose fixing City University. Now that wasn't feasible because the people who run the university can never address all the issues that they have. That's true for any, institution. And so there was no way they could succeed with their project because they picked too big an issue. It's like choosing discrimination Well, there are many aspects of discrimination. Exactly which aspect, which issue are you addressing? And that's what we're trying to show here by giving you examples and showing you the difference between, for example, environment being the topic, the big gorilla, and then what is it that the student addressed about the environment. And there are cases here where some student team addressed the need for energy efficient products. And in fact, in this particular case, they invented a product that they wanted to be sold and used by the public because it conserved energy. There's one here for too few trees in the neighborhood. And so the students demonstrated through their proposal how they knew that there were too few trees and how trees really benefit a neighborhood, et cetera, et cetera. But that was a very small issue that existed in their neighborhood that in effect was under the big gorilla environment. And so they just picked that one little thing. So that's what we're asking you to do, to choose an issue that you can do research on, that you can find a solution for, and that can be addressed, and that's feasible to be addressed. So hopefully that helps. And when you look at this student manual that you're getting, it really gives you the roadmap to doing this project. In fact, even on selecting the issue, you're given the questions that you need to address. You're given suggestions. And so you should really read this manual very carefully because it was written for you.
Thank you, Phil. So we'll return to our slides in just a moment, but first we'll actually open a quick poll. You know, you have until December 20th to commit to your issue on the entry form, but maybe you have maybe you're already inspired. Maybe you already know what you want to focus on, or you just have a hunch. You might have already started talking to neighborhood resources and family members, etc. So we will ask you to choose which potential topic your QLI issue falls under. You will see a poll in a moment with several of the topics. You can choose your gorilla, your umbrella topic, and if it's none of the above, pick other. We'll give you a moment now. Please type in. Again, this is what you're thinking today. It's not what you will have to register with in December. Not committed to it. But what are you thinking? Do you want to improve some aspect of high school? Is this an education issue? Are you concerned about the environment? Are there problems within the neighborhood that you see? Is health what you're called to address? Or is it something else? Give you 10 more seconds to enter your topic. No, I'll ask you. If there are any others, we are curious, as you can tell, so we'll ask you what that is. But right now it's looking like mostly health, followed by education, and then neighborhoods. Okay, we look forward to hearing more and learning about these education and health and neighborhood issues.
And we are going to take a survey to find out what you're interested in so that we bring people to the fair that you'll be able to talk to. and get material and information from. So, you know, you need to help us so that we can help you.
Excited to see these important topics that you're thinking of. And if you have questions about your issue, if you already have a hunch what that is, you can type into the Q&A now. And again, we will have Q&A at the end. So we're moving from the poll back to our slides. Okay, we're back to considerations.
Do you have when you are thinking about an issue? So let's talk about an issue. I'd like to have a ladder to the moon. And I know you could build ladders, you could create ladders, you could even hire somebody to build a ladder. But the consideration is this really important to you? Is this a very important issue? Is it an important issue not just to you, but to other people as well? Does it affect other people, this need? And if the answer is no, it's not important to you, it's not even important to other people, it's not an issue that you should choose. You also need to consider whether it is a realistic issue. You know, the need for a ladder to the moon, it's not even feasible, let alone realistic. So that too is a consideration. If it's something that could never be done, or at least in our lifetime, will probably not be done, I'm not sure that it's something that you ought to use as your issue. So normally our students pick something that they've either noticed, like one team of students, they happened to notice, they were in Manhattan, and they noticed that the garbage pails on the corners around Broadway were overflowing with garbage. And so that's the issue that they chose. They chose, you know, public garbage pails that were overflowing. So on one side, it's a good issue because it's good that people are using the garbage pails. The bad issue is that when it gets so full, it tends to end up on the sidewalk. And so they had a very interesting proposal, and that proposal actually became a finalist proposal. So you want to choose an issue that I think people also can relate to. But most important, when you choose something that you really care about, there was one where a student lived in an apartment house, and right in front of, he used to ride a bike, but right in front of his apartment house, there was a broken sidewalk. It was really a large broken sidewalk, and it bothered him. He had been living in this apartment house for like 10 years, and it was never fixed. And he could never ride his bike on the sidewalk. He always had to go into the street. So he chose that as his issue, the repair of sidewalks in New York City, and he even selected a geographic area that he was going to focus on. So these considerations are important, and you should, in not only choosing an issue, but you want to talk to a lot of people, just about anyone in your family, anyone in school, your friends, teachers. And I'm not just talking about the teachers that you have. It may be teachers that your friends have. It may be teachers that are in the cafeteria. It may be someone that you don't have as your teacher, but it's a teacher in the school. You may just want to do a survey and just get two things what issues do they think should be addressed, and what issues are quality of life issues that they're aware of or that they care about. And you never know, if you ask enough people, somebody will mention something that they care about that you might also be interested in. But a lot of our students, again, choose an issue that for some reason, touched them. You know, we had a student who actually lost a member of his family because it was he wouldn't go, you know, the member of the family wouldn't go for a medical test. And so that became, and it turns out that and it was a male, a lot of males really don't like going for this medical exam. So that became the focus, the issue. Why, you know, having males at a certain age going for this particular medical exam. And it was really a very important proposal because the borough president was also interested in. Another one was a student who experienced bed bugs, and it wasn't her fault. I mean, bed bugs don't come because somebody does something. It's something that somehow enters the house. Maybe you bought something and there were bed bugs, and so you end up getting it. But there was a pandemic going on in this borough, and she happened to experience it. And she got the borough president involved with it. And her proposal ended up being a 2-page spread in a newspaper in her borough. So, and the borough president worked with her on it. And so it was a wonderful, wonderful proposal, but it came out of her experience and an issue, obviously, that she had. So talk to as many people as you can and see what they think is an issue. Of course, you have to, as you think about issues, you need to gather information because you want to see, is this really a valid issue? And so you want to know, and you'll do secondary research, you know, who's affected by this issue? Am I the only one that gets bed bugs? Is there any other one who's getting it? Is it a big problem? What's the degree of the problem? And what's the reason for this issue? How do people get it? I mean, how does this issue come about? And where does it exist? You know, is it just, for example, in Brooklyn? Is it throughout New York City? Is it just in your school? Is it just in your neighborhood? Is it something that exists throughout the state or maybe throughout the country? So you need to get that information to really learn about your issue and the degree of its importance. And where else does it exist other than the places you know? And when did it really start becoming a problem? How long has it been around? Like this young man with the broken sidewalk, his problem existed for 10 years. They hadn't fixed that broken sidewalk. And then why is this issue? Why is it a problem to have such a broken sidewalk? You know, women who were walking their baby and the baby was in a carriage, they couldn't just walk their baby on that sidewalk. They had to put the baby carriage, they had to walk or take the baby carriage into the street. If you're riding a bike, you had to be riding a bike in the street. The elderly people, when they walked, they had a problem too because it was a potential risk for falling. And so why is this broken sidewalk a problem? Why is the issue that you're choosing a problem? You need to become the expert on this issue. And the more you become an expert, the more passionate you become about fixing this issue. And there are even more considerations. For example, you might even think, well, this broken sidewalk, you know, number one, who fixes broken sidewalks? And why isn't it being fixed? And is there a possibility that it could be fixed? Is it too expensive and the city's not going to spend the money to fix the sidewalk? Where are sidewalks being fixed? Why isn't it being fixed in my neighborhood? You need to think about all aspects around your issue and start gathering that information. And then, of course, I always think about, is it really affordable and feasible? And there are times that you can't do something. It's just not feasible, like that ladder to the moon. And so, or we had a wonderful idea that students had at one time. Young people who are disabled have a challenge going to a high school that has no elevator. I mean, there are some high schools that don't have elevators. So how does someone in a wheelchair, for example, get to the second floor or the third floor of a school? And there are very few schools that have elevators. So these people who are in wheelchairs, they have to travel a lot more to get to a high school where there is an elevator. So these young people actually came up with an idea where an elevator could be built outside of the school, and it would be almost, if you think about the windows that are stacked on top of each other, you could build an elevator outside. And in fact, the city actually took that on, and there is a high school in New York City now with an external elevator. So it's sometimes these ideas that may seem out of the box are really feasible and are really affordable. In fact, these students actually went out and found companies that built elevators like that. So you want to do something that is going to make a difference. You want to address an issue that if it's fixed, will really make a difference for individuals. And again, we talked a little bit about narrowing the issue. It's really something that can be addressed. Whether it's transportation or it's, bacteria, spread of bacteria in schools. You need to have, and by the way, the spread of bacteria in schools right now is an issue, right? And so is that something that can be addressed? Is there maybe we need to make it smaller? Maybe it's only in elementary school. Maybe it's only in the schoolyard. So, get it as narrow as possible so that when you do the research on it, you'll be talking to the right people, you'll be gathering information about something small that can be addressed and that you can do something about.
Wonderful. We do have some, beyond the examples of the narrow issues, we have some more resources online for you to explore potential issues and again go from general to more specific. I will dive into 2 of these and we'll be sure to share these links with you as well, just to navigate with you 2 of these online resources and how you could explore potential topics. So for example, Issue Lab. Say you're curious, you go to Issue Lab and you want to see what kind of quality of life challenges people are researching. This is a website with research today. And maybe, like many of you, 56% of the attendees are researching health. Maybe you're researching mental health. So you can type in to the search bar, mental health. And you click search. When you scroll down, you'll see the results, 380 results. So what are people thinking about related to mental health? They're looking at adults and social emotional learning in Tulsa. This is elsewhere in the US. I'm scrolling down so you can see a few more choices. There are reports from the Medical Corps International, so that is moving out of the US boundaries. We see, there's a report about health and immigrants in New York City, a local resource, Brooklyn and Queens. And then you also find a research on mental health and adolescence and substance use. So you could narrow down from mental health to mental health and adolescence, mental health and adolescence and substance use. So this page is rich with examples. The other site that we'll explore, say you were curious about support for non-English speaking immigrants when they move to New York City. You can go to 311, look at education. I'm going to scroll down alphabetically. And again, this is a menu. This website has a variety of potential topics for you. Employment, environment, garbage. Is there too much trash? Is it not collected by you? Is there a lot of litter? But we'll say we're thinking about adults and learning English. Okay, so adults, education, adult learning. What does New York City have for us on adult learning? Oh, classes for adult learnings, including English. So you can dive deeper and deeper to learn about your issues and to actually start finding some of your resources, the 3 resources required for the entry form. Okay, so we'll stop the search here, but we did find adult learning centers where they offer ESL. And we're looking just at our final slides because we want to make sure you have your time to ask questions. Okay, we saw our list of online resources, a small sampling here, more in the online resources directory that'll be shared with you. And now we'll ask you to type any questions you have into the Q&A. We will let you reflect for a moment and we'll be reading the Q&A. You can ask anything that you like. We will not be recording who asked what, so don't feel shy about any question you might have. Any question is a good question. If you're thinking it, the odds are someone else on this call has the same question.
Yeah.
Nope.
Every question.
Okay, so we are here waiting for questions. If you think something after the webinar has ended, you see my email addresses right here, davetarantino@wise.ny.org, and our phone number. So you can call or email anytime with a question. Of course, teachers, resource, but we're here to help you. That is our job, day and night.
So maybe you don't have a question about this, but you have any concerns
Now, we have a question about sports. Can we do?
Absolutely. Sports now, sports is the topic. And so what is it about sports that you're really concerned about? What is the issue? So sports is the topic. Now you have to find the issue related to sports that you feel need to address. So I would have said 20 years ago, I would have said, well, you know, women should play basketball. But I can't say that today because we have female basketball teams. So, you need to choose the issue now.
Okay, our next question would surveying your target group for your research question, such as 8 to 10-year-olds, be a good way to collect data? That is a layered question.
Would surveying your target group for your research question, such as 8 to 10-year-olds, it depends on the research question or questions. So I assume the survey has more than one question. You just have to be careful that the survey meets the guidelines. So let me see what it says after the.
At 8 to 10-year-olds.
Yes, and again, because you're working with young children, that survey would need to be approved. And how you're collecting the data, who are you speaking to? You need to have approval because they're underage.
That is true. Minors are a special group,
Yeah.
protected group when you're conducting research. I will get our next question now. Let's make it bigger. Okay, what if you have a specific topic of concern in mind, but you can't find much preliminary research that addresses it? Give us a hint what that's about.
And maybe Juliet can help you, because it's remember, now you're talking about a specific topic. So the topic is different than the issue. So what topic are you referring to? Maybe I could help you.
Type it in, and we will see what information we can give you as we look through the next question. Okay, if the next question is, if I make appropriate questions relating to my research questions for my target group, it will be a good way to collect statistical data. That was a question.
Data. You ask questions of your target group, and then you determine from that, you synthesize, you do a data analysis, and you collect data that will very often point to a solution. So I could understand that. Something like that, you might want to talk to someone in your school, and maybe you would go to other schools as well. So something like feminine products in school bathrooms, I would talk to the assistant principal of a female physical education. So the assistant principal of physical education, and there used to be, in some schools, they have one for females and they have one for males. So if you can, I'd speak to them. Another person you could talk to is the custodian, because they're the ones who put the female products in the bathrooms. And a third person that you could talk to is perhaps a phys ed teacher or an assistant principal, like the assistant principal organization. So fine, and you could talk to your teacher and ask your teacher to introduce you to someone, to refer someone that you should be talking to. So it is a topic that I see going, Googling it, for example, you would find very little data about that issue. And then there are different kinds of research that you do. It's research that you get perhaps by using Google and looking for reports, research reports. There's other research, and that's observational research. So suppose you want to see if bathrooms in high school provide certain feminine products. You could actually visit schools and observe, go check out the female bathrooms. You would have to say that you'd have to get a letter from your school that would allow you to go into another school and check out their bathrooms, but you could do observational research. And you could also write emails to assistant principals or of physical education at different high schools in your borough. I mean, there are a number of ways you collect that information, even if you're not able to Google the question. I hope that helps.
As an anecdote, I can tell you that I do see feminine products in the bathrooms at CUNY, at the City University of New York colleges. So you could do a little research and find out who works at CUNY specifically John Jay College is where I see them, and who's working in facilities or maintenance. And maybe they would be able to tell you about when they introduced those products, how that came about, etc.
Another thing you could do, you could, if you have a specific product in mind, you could call the manufacturer of the product and find out if the product is being sold to high schools and if there's a vending machine for the product. I mean, so you could think out of the box on how to get that information that you need. What makes data qualitative as opposed to quantitative? Oh, that's a very easy question. So something that is quantitative, data that is quantitative, means that there's a numerical assignment to it. So if you have data that shows that 90% of the females in your high school date males that are whatever, 15, 17 years old, whatever that percentage is quantitative. It's a number. You know, it could be an actual number. How many students in your school, out of, let's say you have 1,000 students, how many students from your survey said that they were willing to go to a Broadway show, or they're interested in going to a Broadway show, or they have been to a Broadway show? How many Broadway shows have they gone to? All of that data is quantitative because there's a number that you're going to get and you will be able to report. That's called quantitative data. Qualitative data is very different. It's data that is not numerical. So for example, it could be that qualitative. Give me an example, Juliet, of something that's qualitative.
Google form, you're doing a survey, and people can, they're answering yes or no. I date people in my high school, or what age are they? Those are numbers that's yes or no, and then from yes or no, you have a number that's a percentage. Maybe you have a question, or thinking about the feminine products in school bathrooms, you can ask if students have ever seen these places, where they have seen them, and how that has impacted their day, whether it was those products were there or not. So that's a long answer. They'll describe their experiences. You can't really boil it down into numbers. So it's an interview question. It's a focus group.
Quoting someone is qualitative. My school principal indicated that he is going to give 50 more holidays each school year. And he said, it would be my pleasure to give students one holiday a week. It's something that he said, and you're quoting him. That is qualitative data. It's not numbers. It's not saying, 50% of the students attended a Broadway show. It's saying the principal indicated that he is interested in doing something, that he is planning to go to Florida this winter. That's qualitative information. It doesn't have a number attached to it.
Right. And if those students at the school that had a holiday every week, if they were asked about how that one day off would impact them, and some of them explained it will make them feel less stressed, they'll have a whole day devoted to doing homework, they'll walk their dog, it will make their dog healthier. All this information is descriptive. And again, like Phyllis mentioned, you can't just put a numerical value on it.
But if you're saying that 50%
within QOF. What's QOF? QL, is that an I, an L? Okay, okay. All right, how do we deal with ethics within? Oh, ethics is a big question. And so I'm not sure what about ethics. Are you talking about ethics in general? Ethics, again, is a topic. And is there a specific issue? So you know, if you're concerned about the ethical behavior. So for example, if someone does something that is, you say, I'm just pulling this out of the air, that ethical, it's not ethical. It's not ethical, for example, to steal school supplies. That's not ethical. It's not honest, but it's not ethical either. It's not ethical to cheat. Oh, that's a good issue. That's not ethical at all. And so you'd have to be very specific about what ethical issue you're concerned about. If you have a topic like school buses, you know, being on time, and let's say there's an ethical issue about school buses being on time, then you would have to say, you know, it's important to address because boom boom is unethical behavior, inappropriate behavior. It crosses the line in, you know, in terms of being honest or following a moral compass, something that is appropriate. So, you know, be careful though what you call ethical. And I'll give an example. Some people might think that, you know, putting graffiti on a wall is unethical. That's not unethical. It may be inappropriate. It may be using somebody else's property to display their artwork, but it's not, I wouldn't call that unethical. Yes. So there are certain questions that you would never ask people. You know, it's not ethical to really ask someone about their sexual orientation unless they tell you, but you wouldn't ask somebody that. It's really not appropriate. And so I would see that being sort of outside of the line. So so I'm not quite sure how you want to, how ethics is an issue within QLI for you.
We've gone through our list of submitted questions. You do have another minute. We'll take the last call of questions. And as we mentioned, we're here for you on email or via phone. So if we didn't answer something or you thought of another question while we were discussing these, you may type it in to questions and we'll stay here for one more minute while you might do that. And we do really appreciate all these questions. It shows that you're thinking critically about your part. Oh, and we did have one we didn't answer. Can quantitative data be percentages? Yes.
Are 5 feet 5. That's number. You know, 75%
Of females love chocolate. So yes, whenever you use a percentage, it's definitely quantitative. It's numerical. And if it's numerical, it's quantitative.
So again, thank you for these questions and for your time this afternoon. We are wishing you a lot of luck as you start on this project, and we're excited to see where you go with your issues, and we're excited to see you in person at our resource fair, on the internet, at more webinars, at workshops. And if you have a question anytime, reach out to us. Have a wonderful evening.
And have fun with this project. You can make a difference and change lives in New York City. Thank you very much.